Good afternoon. This is Mike Teese with Keller Williams Citywide. I'm coming to you on November 20th, 2019. Get ready for Thanksgiving next week, and I wanted to go over the forms audit checklist of a purchase transaction. Might go in a few different directions here, but I want to talk about the forms that you need to have completed, and also then have a completed loop, as we're using .loop at this time, for the transaction to be processed and for you to be paid. So I really want to talk about the individual forms, briefly touch on them, and then the channel itself, the Keller Williams Citywide YouTube channel, has these individual forms with their own YouTube video. Some last 2 minutes, some last 15 minutes, discussing how to fill out the forms, why you're filling them out, and what makes sense to fill them out. So let's just talk. This video is just a general overview of the purchase forms, and we're going to talk about really the purchase of a single family home. Then maybe I'll offset into or cover some information about condominiums and FHA deals to kind of give you an idea, because there are some additional forms there, and there are also some additional videos on that. So let's talk about the forms that you're going to need to make an offer. I'm talking strictly about making an offer. This video is not about .loop and what needs to be in .loop, but obviously there is. I'm going to go through them in order of the checklist. There is the phishing scam. That's a document that your buyer needs to sign. The seller does not need to sign it, but the buyer needs to sign it, talking about the various scams out there. In our industry, it's about wiring money and the scams associated with that. The Consumer Guide to Agency Relationship. That's another form that needs to be part of all transactions as far as purchase transactions. This is something that you should have had filled out prior to writing this offer. The Agency Disclosure Statement. That is another form that involves the buyer and seller signing, and it identifies you and the other agent and who you're representing. The Affiliated Business Arrangement Disclosure Statement. We have an arrangement with Ohio Real Title. Ohio Real Title is a very good company. It's a very large company. We have a couple of representatives that work with our office very closely. They have office space right outside of our office in the hallway by the elevators. And so this is a disclosure talking about our relationship with them, and that we have a financial incentive if you use their services. The Residential Property Disclosure Form and the Disclosure of Information on Lead-Based Paint. Those are two forms that are completed by the seller at the time of listing. They're typically put in the multiple listing service as supplements, and you're able to then download those into a loop or hard copy print those, and your client, the buyer, should be reviewing those documents prior to writing the offer. So those are two of the property disclosures that are part of the purchase agreement. I'm going to skip down to then there is the offer to purchase. That is the 5-page purchase agreement. That is the most significant form that we utilize, and that really lays out all the particulars about the transaction, how much you're paying, how you're paying for it, when you want to take ownership, when you're going to have loan approval, what are the inspections that you want, who's the title company, water and sewer hold, is there a warranty? I mean, this is the form that really dominates the transaction as far as the direction. Copy of you get an earnest money check, a copy that is put in a loop, but typically people are able to write earnest money using a personal check, and that is also part of the offer typically. Our contract states very clearly when that is to be redeemed. Home warranty contract. We have an affiliation with America's Preferred Home Warranty. They have plenty of information in the office, brochures. They do have a one-page contract. When you write the offer, if you're asking for a home warranty to be paid by the seller, you need to stipulate those terms and have it signed. This form needs to be signed whether there is a warranty being asked for by your buyer or they're declining to ask for one. They then need to sign it to where they're declining, but this is a form that is required, and they need to either sign it saying that they want a warranty and then spell out the conditions of that warranty, or they sign it saying they don't want a warranty. right? And then next we would go to, well, let me back up. If they do say they want a warranty and you are able to get the deal to close, prior to that, America's Preferred uses a data collection form that also needs to be part of the transaction, to where you're identifying at the property the make and brand of the appliances, the furnace, the air conditioning, hot water tank, primarily those and the appliances that is part of the contract. Realty insurance form. We have a affiliation with Realty Insurance. They're a broker, and basically the form says, would you like to talk to somebody about getting an insurance quote on homeowners? And then they can sign that and say yes, they do. Or once again, it has a place where they can sign and decline and say, I'm not interested in talking to anybody about property insurance. Either way, it's another form that is required and needs to be presented and needs to be signed one way or the other. So those are the predominant forms that deal with a kind of a standard conventional purchase. And certainly when you're presenting an offer, another form would be that you would want to present your loan approval for your client. So let's talk about two other types of purchases that require some additional documents, and there are videos on those. One would be that if it was going to be a FHA financed transaction, there is two additional documents that you would need to include. There's the document which is for your protection, get a home inspection. And that would be a document that, we all encourage all buyers to get home inspections, but this is a document that is required to be completed by your buyer only, stating that, you notified them and they have chosen to not, or they've chosen to get a general home inspection. And then the second one is an FHA addendum, and ours is kind of a combination FHA VA. There is also VA financing that this same form would need to be filled out, and it's a one-page addendum that says that they're using FHA financing. It has some minor details in it, but that is a second form that needs to be done in addition to all the other forms when it comes to a purchase. I've also done another video on condominium addendums and documents, and you can look at that. That goes into detail. But there are several additional condominium documents that need to be presented at the time of offer. Basically, it's called a condominium addendum. And there's another one, a planned unit condominium kind of questionnaire that you're also providing that as part of the transaction, asking that the seller provide you with the decks and bylaws, maybe the rules and regulations, the financial statements and the budget of the property, and then there's also then a set of questions they ask, confirming the maintenance fee, confirming that there aren't any future assessments being proposed. That there are no lawsuits, there isn't a right of first refusal, which allows the homeowners association to buy it, over your particular buyer. So basically what I've covered is the documents that are required to satisfy the needs of the market center as well as your client for a typical conventional purchase or a cash purchase, a purchase that is using FHA financing, which requires two additional documents. And then also then the third one is the condominium addendums if you are purchasing a condominium. And these are all outlined on the audit checklist that we're currently using to submit transactions. This is Mike Teese out.